So thank you, audience, for joining this session today. Let's start with the questions directly. So I'm welcoming Dr. Evelyne Ng'ang'a on this call, and she is a director at Pediatric Allergic Center based in Nairobi. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us today. Today's topic is very close to our hearts and also very exciting, especially for the women who are expecting or who are already a first time mothers, because we've seen that a lot of time as a mother, as a first time mother mainly, we really don't know what not to do. We rely on a lot of those advices from our parents or probably from peer circle or friends, families. But then how much do we really trust that advice? What is truth? What is not truth? And for everything, we can't be going to pediatric, also asking every single question. And that's why we've got you, doctor, here as pediatric. And I'm sure now audience will have also a lot of questions to ask. But before we go to the audience questions, we would like to understand from your side. So I have got a couple of questions here, which are mainly given by the first-time mothers. To start with, what do you think is the biggest mistake first-time mothers all end up making by trusting their instincts?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. It's always nice to just talk to the community and connect. So I have been a first-time mother myself, and a lot of the time, as a first-time mom, it's a new space that you're in. Sometimes you do not trust that you have that maternal instinct that is naturally given to us. And so people feel like they second guess themselves, they're overwhelmed by decision making without knowing that indeed, when they say, as a first time mom, always listen to your gut feeling. That gut feeling comes as a result of the connection you have with your baby. So I would want to advise first time moms, always listen to your gut feeling. If you find that there's something that has changed with your baby and instinctively you feel something is wrong, please seek help early. Sometimes you get unsolicited advice from people and you may ignore a very serious condition, downplay it just because of what someone else has said. I would just want to say, do not second guess yourself. If you feel deep down in your gut that there's something wrong, please seek appropriate advice. So the key learning here is to just trust your instincts while knowing to know when to seek professional medical advice.
Great, thank you. The next question, which is again a very crucial, important topic for the life of the baby as well as it comes from the mother, is breastfeeding. So, what are the common mistakes when mothers are doing the breastfeeding or the bottle feeding?
One of the common mistakes is becoming very rigid with your feeding schedules, okay? So a lot of the time as pediatricians, we'll tell you that you need to feed your baby every 2 to 3 hours. So that's quite, like you're feeding your baby on schedule. But the truth is, sometimes this schedule does not always work the same way. So the advice would be to follow the hunger cues of your baby. The first 2 to 4 weeks, you're literally getting to learn one another, so yourself and your baby. And with time, you'll realize what cry means what. There's a cry of wetness, but there's also the cry of hunger. So if you find you haven't gotten to the 2.5 or 3 hour mark and your baby is really crying and uncomfortable and you can tell it's a hunger cue, please go ahead and feed your baby. You don't have to starve your baby because you're trying to keep on schedule. Feeding patterns also change during periods of growth. So sometimes when a baby is going through a growth spurt, you may notice that they do what we call cluster feeding. And it's important to be able to know what to expect during these phases of growth. They happen at designated times. So for instance, at 6 weeks, you may notice a growth spurt. Around 8 weeks, you may also notice another growth spurt. And so it would be good to familiarize yourself with these periods of growth spurts so that you can also go along with your baby feeding cues.
Good. So this means very clearly what I understand, that schedule is not important. A baby's needs are different than another baby. So it's all about understanding a mother and a baby and then go with what baby is requiring.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Now, when you mentioned crying, I know the question comes sleeping. That what happens when with the first time mother baby doesn't sleep and whole night the baby was crying. Those kind of questions come. So, what are the common mistakes a mother does for this regarding the sleeping pattern of the baby?
So I will say, even from my own experience, you just want to get onto a sleep pattern as quickly as possible. The truth is, this baby has literally just come from the womb. They're acclimatizing with their new environment. There's so many things that are stimulating them. There's so many things that are disrupting them. And so for sleep patterns, do not stress yourself in trying to get a sleep schedule like as soon as the baby is born. Okay. There's the advantage that the first 4 weeks, babies are going to sleep a lot anyway. So I think that also helps with the mom in terms of recovery. But after this, they become more alert to the environment. So they may not be quick to sleep as you expect them to. So it's to tell you that, cut yourself some slack when it comes to sleep schedules. The first 4 to 6 weeks are going to be difficult, but then and start off a regular routine that the baby can expect. So babies like structure, babies like patterns. But even if they do not follow that pattern, do not beat yourself up. The other thing is common rule that when your baby sleeps, you should also sleep. Because I think one of the other things moms don't do, they also do not prioritize their own sleep or their own rest. And sometimes, as the baby is sleeping, the mother wants to look at the baby sleeping and monitor every little movement, the breathing, are they making any sounds, etc. It's okay to also get your own sleep. So follow the when baby sleeps, also sleep, or at least get some rest, so that you can also have a better postpartum, and you're able to even make better decisions and have better judgment instead of just collapsing in exhaustion.
As you mentioned postpartum, then another question is, what are the other mistakes which a mother is making post delivery? Like, what are the things they should avoid or not do?
Okay. So I think when it comes to postpartum, um, first of all, you need to work very closely with your doctor. So to understand what is expected of you in terms of your own healing as a mother. So also depending on the mode of delivery, it would be very important to know what to expect, because you're a first time mom. You do not know this discharge that I'm having right now, is this normal? How long is it supposed to continue on for? If it continues beyond a certain period, then there's a problem. The pain that I'm currently having, is that normal? Because sometimes as you're breastfeeding your baby, your uterus contracts and it's normal to get some cramps. So it's just having a walk or journey with your obstetrician during that period of recovery of what is normal, what is not normal. The other thing would be having a proper diet. So remember, you have just birthed a child, like a human has been in you for 9 months, and your body is beaten up, properly defeated. Okay. So you need to get yourself back to recovery. You need to learn what are the good foods that you're supposed to eat to help you get there. If you lost a lot of blood, you need to know which foods are supposed to boost your iron, boost your blood levels. And remember, there's another little human who's fully dependent on you. So, how to also enhance the breast milk, not just the quantity, but also the quality of breast milk. So, I think people sometimes underplay this immediate postpartum period in terms of their own well being, but also the well-being of the baby that they're about to, they've had the journey of taking care of. And also sometimes people expect like immediate bonding with the baby, and sometimes if they don't get that connection, they feel a bit guilty. It's normal for you to feel like that you want to connect right at this, the get-go. But sometimes different babies also experience different postpartum periods. So just keep at it, keep breastfeeding, don't give up, connect with your baby any chance you get rest, get proper nutrition, and sleep. And don't forget vitamin D as well. Going out to catch some sun, because your bones also need to be strengthened at this time. The baby literally leaches out all your calcium, literally almost all your calcium. And you start to notice a lot of creaks when you're moving your hands and your hips and all that. So you need to also get outside and have some vitamin D.
Great, informative. So, doctor, you mentioned something about bonding. So, another question was that as a first time mother, what is it I'm missing when it comes to creating that bonding with my baby? Or what is it something I can do to especially create that bond between the mother and the baby?
Yeah. I would say it starts during your daily routine and care of this baby. So right from feeding the baby, whether you've managed to do breastfeeding, that's a very good time for bonding. The baby's eyesight is also not very developed, so they can literally only see a distance of 30 centimeters, like a ruler, which is the space or the distance between you holding your baby to breastfeed and your face. So them just looking at you as they breastfeed is a way of bonding. They're getting to know who you are. They can see your silhouette, your shadow, they hear your voice. So we always encourage talk to your baby. It could be the most trivial thing that you're telling the baby, like, I love your beautiful eyes, you're breastfeeding so well, you're so beautiful, God loves you, whatever. Just that connection. When you're changing your baby, just changing the diaper, that's also a very good time to connect with your baby. Wriggle their little toes and tickle them, tell them, I'm changing your diaper, I'm cleaning you up, you're so happy today, or what's the best thing that's happened in your day today. Just have that connection with your baby. That's a very good moment of interaction. And of course, we encourage help the baby understand the environment in which you're in. So just talk to them about who's around them, what's around them. If there's a window, there's light bright outside, it's daytime, it's now nighttime. So those are very good moments for you to interact with your baby and bond. And you'll notice with time, the babies get to know their mothers really well or their primary caregiver really well. But these interactions enhance that. And it could take anything between weeks to months. So keep at it.
Very interesting that we probably always thought that the babies will not understand, but what you are saying is completely opposite, that you got to talk to them, and that's where the first time bond is being created.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So another question I had now around the protection of the baby, because as a first-time mothers, we also end up being very, very protected about the baby, and we try to protect them from people even in the family or a lot of other things around them. So how does it impact, and what are the mistakes we commonly would be making around it?
Okay. I know sometimes as a first time mom, you really just want to be the bodyguard of your baby. You've gone through such a tedious journey and you cannot imagine anything happening to your newborn. And sometimes you become overly cautious to the point of impracticality. So, for instance, you want to be with your baby all day long. I remember, like for me, I used to have that kind of issue, anxiety, handing over my baby to somebody else, especially in the first 3 months. You literally just want to be with your baby, sometimes not even getting enough time to have your personal time, either to have a shower or to take a walk or to just get some rest. So get people that you can trust and who can support you during this journey so that you don't also become overprotective. The other thing that could be a potential hazard is if you use a car seat and you put it in properly, such that your baby is the neck is very flexed. They're not properly placed. So that's also something that mothers need to familiarize themselves with, that the car seat positions vary depending on age. Familiarize yourself with that. And also look out for cues that there's a problem in terms of milestones of your baby. So this is also something to help ensure that your baby is protected from any undue delays in their growth and in their development. So familiarize yourself with the milestones that a baby is supposed to go through and watch through that. I think we'd mentioned this in a previous live, the different milestones that a baby goes through in the first 12 months, and also the overbundling of babies. So when we want to like wrap them nicely, you want to wrap them really snug. Some babies literally disappear in whatever you have wrapped them in, to the point of, are they even able to breathe? What about the risk of sudden infant death that occurs on cots? The other thing is also positioning the baby in the baby cot. We advise that you shouldn't put a baby on their tummy when they're still very young. They do not have very good neck control by then, and they could literally suffocate to death. So we advise put the baby on the side and remember to keep changing the position even through the night, because sometimes people leave a baby in one position for so long, for periods of hours. And we've even noticed that sometimes, because of how soft their heads are, you can end up with one side more flattened than the other, just because you haven't been doing the regular changing of the baby. And this is also to prevent the SIDS, the sudden infant death syndrome.
Oh, okay. Now,
Yeah.
as you mentioned about even one of the baby gears as being car seat where when they are traveling, what are the other baby gears a mother should be careful about and should not make those mistakes while handling those baby gears?
Okay, so baby gears are of type. So for instance, the carrier, like when you're carrying a baby, make sure you have done all the safety checks, because if you're gonna carry your baby and maybe your hands are doing something else, you then want your baby to slip through and fall. That's a common one. Also, when it comes to bathing the baby, so when on the changing mat, most of the changing stations can be elevated. Just remember, it takes like all of 1 second for a baby to fall over. So you must be very careful to have your eyes focused on your baby. If they're on any elevated surface, it could be the bed, it could be a changing station, etc. Also, while in the bath, if you're using a basin, remember it only takes a very few amount, like very few centimeters of water to drown the baby. So always be careful, even if you've left the baby to have some playtime in the water, you must always supervise them very keenly. And also things like the feeding bottles, always examine the teats of the bottles, because sometimes some parts can break off, especially if either it has been handed down from someone else and maybe it's not a brand new bottle. It may have little pieces of either the silicone or the plastic that are broken off that the baby can actually choke on. And of course, is to ensure whichever environment you're in, that there are no tiny pieces, especially when babies start to crawl. We actually advise as moms, you should crawl yourself to the level of the baby and see what hazards are actually around the baby at that level, and then be able to secure those, including things like the because they're when they're planning how to stand, making sure you don't leave any hot beverages anywhere around the baby that they can easily pull. So always go down to their level, look around, and see if there are any hazards around them.
Okay. So as you mentioned on choking, I'm just taking one of the questions from the audience who had mentioned that
Mhm.
what is the first aid for an infant who's choking? Because as an adult, what we mostly do is end up patting on the back. But is it the right thing to do, or what is the better way to handle it?
Yeah. So when it comes to CPR, we normally assess the age of the baby. So, for instance, if it's a baby who's below 12 months, as you've mentioned, an infant, and you have noticed that they're choking, you're supposed to support them face up. So, you hold your hand at the back of the baby's head, place them on your thigh, such that there's gravity is also assisting you, meaning the baby is slightly sloped downwards.
Okay, the
And
head
then
is
you've got,
down.
yeah, so baby is facing up, you're supporting the back of the head while placing them on your thigh in a downward trajectory, so that even as you're trying to get the food out, gravity is also assisting. I don't know whether you get what I mean. And then you use your two fingers, because remember their chest is also very soft,
Yes.
and you identify the area that we call the nipple line. So just where the line is, about a centimeter below that, and you're supposed to do sharp, what we call chest thrusts. So you do 5 sharp chest thrusts. Each time you're doing this, you're also checking into the baby's mouth to see if the object has come out. If after 5 chest thrusts nothing has come out, you're supposed to then flip the baby in a face in a downward position, so they face down as you support the jaw. So support the jaw, and then you use this part of your palm and do what you call the back blows right in the middle of the scapula. So, like where the shoulder blades are, right in the middle there. And again, you want to do it with a bit of pressure, so that whatever is in there is comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So another question was around managing the expectations in terms of that as a mother. What about, a lot of time we end up having a lot of expectations from our side as mother, and at times we have seen that that expectation versus the gap turns into the guilt that I'm not able to do enough for my baby. So
Mhm.
what are the things which a mother we are doing wrong when it comes to managing the expectations from ourselves for the baby?
Okay. To be honest, when you find out you're going to be a mom, there's lots of mixed emotions, right? There's the excitement that I'm finally going to have a baby. Then there's also the anxiety at the back of your head of, oh my, I've never done this before. I don't even know what to expect. And as we all know, every baby is different. What will my baby be like? Will they be the crying type, or will they be the very silent babies? So already you're creating expectations even before the baby arrives, that either you're going to do this or you're already doomed to fail. So I think it's to start off with just very positive attitude that everyone who's currently a mother that you know was once a first time mom, and they once went through what you're currently going through. So we advise that you should create a community where you can have conversations with other moms who have been through the journey, because we get a lot of encouragement and positivity from those around us, where you're encouraged and told, you can actually do this. I've been through the journey before. For those who may have mothers who are still living and can be able to encourage that as well, to tell them, it's not a thing that you'll overcome this period. Basically, it seems daunting, it seems overwhelming, I'm sure you feel unprepared, but day by day you get through it and you get to learn your baby. So I'll say the first thing is to have a very good support system around you, people that you trust, people who have successfully gone through that journey, people who will not judge you, because to be honest, it can be very, being a first time mom is not easy. Like the first few weeks you feel like you can pull out your hair and you almost feel like giving up because there's so much demand. The second thing is, don't be afraid to ask for help, be it physical help, helping or managing the baby, or even help when you feel like your mental status is not very good, where you're having like very low moments, you're always feeling very sad, you're feeling like a failure. During those periods, it's very good to seek professional help, because postpartum blues, postpartum depression is real. It exists, but there's also help that you can get during that period. So it's to say, just take it a day at a time. No one is perfect. We all have you know, our misgivings. We have and it's a period that is not permanent. Before long, you look back and you won't believe that you actually went through it. Yeah.
Great. So thank you so much, Doctor, for these questions to be answered very well by yourself. Now I'm just taking some of the questions which audience have been asking us on the chat.
Okay.
So the first question is, while breastfeeding, why does the nipple become extremely painful, and what can we do about it?
Okay. So, the babies usually have a very strong sac. Yeah. And sometimes even so the first thing is to get the latch correctly. So good technique of latching, which is basically to ensure that the nipple plus part of the black part of your breast is in the baby's mouth, the area we call the areola. So as much of the nipple and areola should be in the baby's mouth. And you shouldn't hear the baby's sucking movements. If you hear them like pulling in air or some sucking movements or sounds, then you know that the positioning is wrong. So that's number one, getting the technique right. Number two, the skin around the areola or the skin around the nipple can be very sensitive. Yeah, it be with time, because of the regular sucking motion, it becomes quite thin and can even break. So we always encourage, have a very good nipple cream that will be able to help soothe the area, but also help the area not dry, because the more the baby sucks, the more the area can get dry, the more it's prone to that friction and breaking of the skin. So when you apply the cream, it's to ensure the place is very well moisturized and there's no frictional forces happening there from the baby's suck. And then the third thing is, if it happens and it becomes really painful, there's something we call nipple shields that you can place to shield your nipple. It's also in the form of a nipple. The shape of it is the form of a nipple and has a bit of suction so that it can stick on the breast. So that way, the baby is sucking the silicone nipple shield as opposed to your actual nipple, and helping your nipple to get some rest so that it doesn't become very sore. Those would be the three things I would mention. But also, just as I mentioned, people's nipples are different as well. So the shapes, there are people who have what we call inverted nipples, whereby the nipple is facing inwards. And so it's very hard for the baby to suck. And sometimes those kind of nipples can be very painful because the baby doesn't have proper grip. And so they end up sucking on the skin around it and it becomes very hard. So there's ways in which you can be helped while at the hospital to try and pull out your nipple. And also there's the flat nipples. So if you know that you have flat nipples, then nipple shields very early on will really help you to avoid the pain that happens around there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question is in terms of baby products. A question is from the audience is that what to do with the products which have got fragrances in the baby products. Again, there is a common question around: is it safe to use a baby product with fragrance or it's not?
Okay, so what I'll say is, and I think this was mentioned by a friend of mine who did a live on TV recently. When we use things that have fragrance or lots of strong smells, including just washing baby clothes in all these nice smelling detergents, the baby ends up wrapped in those clothes. If it's, say, the baby blankies or the actual clothes, they're literally in this environment of scent and strong smells the whole day. Can you imagine if you had perfume on your face the whole day and what that would mean to you for your nose? So the babies get very uncomfortable. Their noses become stuffy and congested, and the baby could even cry because of just how they feel horrible. So we usually say try as much as possible because their senses are also very heightened. You know, try as much as possible to use as good products as possible with the minimal scent. Yeah, they become overwhelmed by the sense of smell because of what's around them. Yeah.
Okay, okay, good, good. That's probably one of the big clarifications because people always get confused with when we see the perfume. Should we even be have seen recently in the market baby cologne as well? So yeah, you
Imagine.
have answered. You have answered that one.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. I know we covered this in one of our other WhatsApp and Zoom live sessions, but considering it has come back again on the Facebook session,
Yeah.
so the question is, what are the key medication or vaccination, rather, I would say, within the first 12 months of the baby's life?
Okay, so there's types of vaccine schedules that you can use for the first 12 months. There's what we call the KEPI, which is the run vaccine schedule. And then there's what we call the baby-friendly vaccines, which are similar to KEPI, only that the vaccines come from different countries, so more from Europe, and they tend to have some additional vaccines that are not in the KEPI schedule. So when a baby is born, they're supposed to get at least three things: a hepatitis B vaccine. They're supposed to get the BCG, which is basically put right under the skin in the forearm. And they're also supposed to get oral polio. So those are the three things that you should ensure you have left the hospital having received. Then at 6 weeks, 10 and 14 weeks, you have other vaccines that are given during this period. So one of them is to boost the polio that was given at birth. The other vaccines would include the pneumonia vaccine. We have what we call the pentavalent vaccine. So it's like a 5-in-1 vaccine that covers various things, including tetanus, what we call Haemophilus influenza, pertussis, so injectable polio. So it has 5 vaccines in one. And then in centers that may have it, we have the rotavirus vaccine. Also very important because a lot of our kids get rotavirus and it can lead to death. It causes very bad diarrhea and vomiting. So at 6, 10, and 14 weeks, you're supposed to get 2 oral vaccines, so the oral polio and the oral rotavirus vaccine, and 2 injectable vaccines, the pneumonia, which is singular, and then the pentavalent, which is a 5-in-1. Then when it comes to around 6 to 7 months in the baby-friendly schedule, you may receive the influenza vaccine. So prevents the baby from getting flu, but not from getting common colds. People always think if the baby gets a flu vaccine, they may not get a common cold. Those are two different things. It helps the baby manage, in case they're exposed to flu, they are able to manage it better. But if they get a common cold, that's different. It doesn't protect them from that. And then at 9 months, they're supposed to get the measles and rubella vaccine. And at 10 months, so either at 10 months or at 1 year, a baby is supposed to get vaccines against meningitis. So it's one injection. It's called the meningococcal vaccine. If it's done at 10 months, it has to be repeated again at 15 months. That's one option. Or if it's given after 1 year, then the baby only receives one shot of the same. Then also at exactly 1 year, the baby is also supposed to receive, from the baby friendly side of things, the baby is supposed to receive hepatitis A and chickenpox vaccines, and also the cholera. So the hepatitis and chickenpox are injections, whereas the cholera vaccine is an oral vaccine that is repeated after 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question. Okay, I see again we have handled this in the previous live sessions. But having said that, so the question is when to know that a mother should start doing the potty training for the baby?
Okay, that's a good one. A lot of the time, potty training, we say from 2 years is good, but to be honest, the baby should guide you. So you'll start to notice that there's some babies who are very quick to say, they do not want their diaper anymore. They just want to remove the diaper and do not want it anymore. And at that point, they're able also to communicate. So there's some babies who may be able to communicate and say, I'm feeling this particular thing. So give them words for what it is they're doing. If they feel like going to pee, they need to have a word to use for that. If they're going to go for a poo, they need to have a word for that. So at the point when a baby is also able to communicate, then you know that they're getting closer to be of potty training. But I will say once a baby is ready, it takes a very short period of time to eventually potty train, and also encourage them. So show them what it means to potty train. You can have a potty there, pretend to sit on the toilet yourself. During certain moments, like after meals, there's tendency for a baby to want to actually poo at that point. So try and encourage sort of timing them so that they know that around this time, then I sit on my potty. But usually follow the cue of your baby. So some babies as early as 1.5 years will be ready, but others from 2 years.
Yeah, so again, let's say every baby how to train, how to get the cues, and yeah, it's an interesting that the way you have explained so far. I mean, how to first start having those little conversations with your baby, start making that bonding, and not get overwhelmed because it's also equally important for a mother to take care of herself. It could be
Exactly.
postpartum issues, or it could be maybe a working mom and not able to spend enough time with the baby. So, all those things, a mother has to take care of herself along with the baby because it's both lives which have to go forward. That's what I'm understanding. From this, apart from other important tips which you have given us, doctor, today on vaccines, on the baby product, and some of the critical issues which have been happening. And as I said at the start of this session, that for not everything, a mother is able to go to the pediatrician. And that's why we've got you here. Thank you so much for your time today, doctor, and for being with us. And even thank you to our audience over here who has been patient enough. Sorry, we had some technical glitches at the start, but you all stayed through. You have listened to us. We really appreciate you being there. And just to let you know, the session doesn't stop here. We have right now our WhatsApp community called Gentle Care Moms Community, wherein our Dr. Evelyne is a part of that community. And based on her advice, we are tips how to handle the baby and how to handle the motherhood. So there are a lot of very, very insightful tips coming in that WhatsApp group on a daily basis, which are given by the Dr. Evelyne. Then we also are sharing some of the food recipes on a regular basis because a lot of time we are concerned that, oh, my baby is not eating. And whatever I'm giving, he's not or she's not eating. So, what to do about it? So, in fact, doctor, we've been receiving very good positive feedback on our food recipes, which are coming through your guidance. So, thank you so much on that. So, audience, I would request that please feel free to join our WhatsApp community. It's completely free of charge. All these expert advice, and anytime when you want to reach out to the doctor, even those information, everything is available on our WhatsApp group. Sorry, I think there is one more question which a person has requested. So before we close, maybe we take that as well. So about the tummy, is it advisable to tie to retain your shape?
I think that question might be a little over my, but I'll just give it from my own experience. It depends on your mode of delivery. Okay, and the status of your healing around your uterus. So I know in some communities they use lassos to tie across their waist, but also how tightly you tie it is key. So don't tie it so tight that you're literally crushing your organs in there, but you can just have like a firm tie to help the muscles, because you know the muscles in your abdomen lose tone, as we call it. They become very lax, so they just sit there. So the tying helps to, bring back that muscle tone around there. And just don't tie it for extended periods of time. So you can tie it maybe during the day for a couple of hours every day. And with time, you'll actually see it helps to bring back the tone and shape of your abdominal muscles. But again, please do it under the guidance of your obstetrician, depending on your status, the status of uterus and the status of your abdomen and the status of your delivery. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So, audience, if you have more questions for pediatrician, as I recommended, please join our WhatsApp community. We, in fact, have 10% discount on the pediatrician consultancy also. Anybody who has joined the WhatsApp group can get better information in the group. Thank you one more time to all of you. Thank you,
Thank
doctor. If you
you.
would like to say anything to your audience today.
I just want to say thank you so much for joining. And if you're a mom to be, or you're already in the cracks of things, just hang in there. I know it can be a bit daunting, but it's not a permanent stage. Yeah, get all the support you need, get all the rest you need. And remember, a happy mom is a happy baby. So do not forget yourself. And we're here to support you.